The hidden mechanical war that Berlin couldn't win, and the American factory that broke a global monopoly. On August 17, 1943, 30,000 feet above Schweinfurt, Germany, the lead bombardier of a formation of 230 American B-17 Flying Fortresses peered through his Norden bomb sight. Anti-aircraft flak filled the skies around the aircraft. Far below, visible through breaks in the smoke, sat 5 German factories. These facilities produced nearly 2/3 of the German war machine's ball bearings. The German aviation industry and military apparatus consumed 2.4 million ball bearings every single month. Allied intelligence believed that if this daring daylight raid succeeded, the entire Axis war effort might grind to a halt. But the cost of this strategy was immense. As American bombs fell, relentless swarms of German fighter planes intercepted the bomber formations. The United States lost 60 B-17 that day. 102 American crewmen lost their lives, and hundreds more were captured or missing. Yet, as young Americans were fighting in the skies over Bavaria to disrupt German ball-bearing production, a completely different reality was unfolding thousands of miles away in Canton, Ohio. American factories were already mass-producing something Berlin simply couldn't match. It was a mechanical innovation that didn't depend on European technology at all, and it would ultimately help change the course of the Second World War. This is the incredible, largely forgotten story of how an immigrant carriage maker invented a superior mechanical design in 1898, and how his American company became the ultimate answer to Central Europe's global monopoly on ball bearings. Friction is the fundamental enemy of mechanical motion. It transforms kinetic energy into heat, damages metal surfaces, and wastes massive amounts of fuel and power. Henry Timken believed that whoever could fundamentally reduce friction would offer something of immense value to the world. Born in the Kingdom of Hanover, Germany in 1831, Timken was a classic American immigrant success story. He moved to the United States with his family at age 7, settling in Missouri. Starting as an apprentice carriage maker at 16, he eventually built his own highly successful wagon factory in St. Louis. By 1895, Timken had become obsessed with the friction problems plaguing wagon wheels. The conventional ball bearings of the 19th century, which used perfectly round steel spheres, worked well for light loads and high speeds, but they had a fatal flaw. When subjected to heavy radial loads and side-to-side thrust loads simultaneously, like a heavy wagon turning a sharp corner, ball bearings wore out quickly and failed. Working with his 2 sons and a nephew, Timken developed a revolutionary concept. Instead of round balls, he used tapered rollers. These rollers were cone-shaped and arranged at an angle. This unique geometry allowed the bearing to handle massive vertical weight and intense side-to-side thrust at the exact same time. On May 1, 1898, Timken received the patents for his tapered roller bearing. The innovation was profound. His new American bearing could handle 5 times the load of an equivalent European ball bearing, all while maintaining lower friction and a much longer lifespan. To capitalize on this invention, the company relocated to Canton, Ohio in 1901. Timken wanted to be firmly positioned between the booming automotive industry in Detroit and the massive steelmaking centers of Pittsburgh and Cleveland. Before World War I, Germany absolutely dominated global ball bearing production. Companies like FAG and SKF had established monopolies through superior metallurgy and aggressive global expansion. America heavily relied on these imported German bearings. When the First World War broke out, the British naval blockade cut off Germany's exports, leaving American industries scrambling and facing massive shortages. But the Timken Company was ready. Because they had their own patented technology, American manufacturers didn't need to rely on German ball bearings for heavy equipment. Timken's tapered rollers were quickly adopted for military trucks, artillery carriages, and heavy machinery. To ensure they would never be at the mercy of outside suppliers again, Timken made a critical decision in 1917. They began making their own steel in Canton. By vertically integrating, the company controlled the exact carbon content, heat treatment, and quality of every single bearing from raw iron to finished product. When World War II erupted, independence became America's secret weapon. By 1943, as American bomber crews were facing critical risks trying to destroy German ball bearing plants, American manufacturing was already completely self-sufficient. The Schweinfurt raids proved incredibly costly to American aircrews. During a second raid on October 14, 1943, remembered as Black Thursday, another 60 American bombers were lost out of 229. Despite these massive sacrifices, the German war machine never entirely collapsed from a lack of bearings. They had massive stockpiles, smuggled replacements from neutral Sweden, and substituted alternative metal bushings wherever they could. While the bombing campaign yielded mixed results, American factories in Ohio were solving the bearing problem through sheer industrial might. During the war, Timken's production more than doubled. The company opened multiple new facilities across Ohio to meet the insatiable demand of the U.S. military. The statistics from this era are staggering. Every single iconic American Jeep required exactly 24 Timken bearings to operate. With over 660,000 Jeeps delivered to the military, Timken produced more than 15.8 million bearings just for that one vehicle. American tanks used Timken bearings in their tracks, wheels, turrets, and transmissions. Heavy artillery pieces, aircraft landing gear, and Navy ship propeller shafts all relied on the Ohio-made tapered rollers. The mechanical advantage was decisive on the battlefield. A ball bearing only touches its metal track at a microscopic point, concentrating massive stress into a tiny area. But Timken's tapered roller contacted its track along a broad line, distributing the immense weight of a Sherman tank or a loaded supply truck over a much larger surface. Furthermore, when a ball bearing wore out in the mud of Europe or the sands of North Africa, it was ruined and had to be replaced. Timken bearings, however, could simply be tightened and adjusted by a mechanic to compensate for wear, keeping vehicles active in the field. German engineers were fully aware of tapered roller bearings, but their entire industrial base was built around ball bearings. Converting their targeted factories to a new standard during wartime while trying to retrain workers and redesign tanks was completely impossible. The ultimate irony of the bearing war was that Henry Timken was born in Germany, yet his engineering brilliance became a thoroughly American asset. His immigrant drive, combined with American mass production capabilities, created a vital military advantage that the Axis powers simply could not replicate. Following the Allied victory, Timken continued to grow. Much of the industrial machinery shipped to a devastated Europe under the Marshall Plan was equipped with Timken bearings. Today, the Timken Company generates billions of dollars in annual sales, employing thousands of people across the globe while still dominating the heavy machinery market. Whenever you see a modern freight train, an offshore wind turbine, a heavy-duty pickup truck, or a massive construction crane, you are looking at machinery operating on the exact physics Henry Timken patented in 1898. The tapered roller bearing never made front-page headlines during World War II. It wasn't photographed like the P-51 Mustang or discussed by generals at top-secret conferences. But military logisticians knew the truth. Without bearings, vehicles don't move. Without movement, armies cannot operate. The Axis leadership spent the war aggressively hoarding ball bearings and scrambling for foreign imports, leaving their entire centralized industry vulnerable to Allied bombers. The United States spent the war quietly producing a vastly superior alternative in unlimited quantities, safe within the borders of Ohio. The massive industrial war of the 1940s was certainly fought in the intense skies over Bavaria, but it was decisively won on the humming production lines of Canton. America never needed European ball bearings to win the war. An immigrant had already given them something infinitely better.